Anybody need a balance? Yeah, and I go with any decor. Well, almost any decor. All good? Okay. There we go. Is that a good shot? Good afternoon, and thank you all very much for coming here. My name is Scott Hoganson. I'm the campaign manager for the joint Tea Party Patriots ForAmerica initiative to defund Obamacare. The reason we're here in Austin this morning is it's part of our Exempt America tour. And the reason we're in Austin today is to ask Senator Cornyn specifically to keep his promise to the people in Texas who elected him to the United States Senate, and ask him to do everything he can to prevent Obamacare from happening. And doing everything he can means that he should side with Senator Mike Lee of Utah and with Senator Ted Cruz, his colleague here in Texas, and sign on to a pledge that he will not force Texans and other American taxpayers to pay for Obamacare. To fund the entire federal government, yes, but not Obamacare. We've got a number of speakers here, and I'll just be introducing them one at a time this morning. And by the way, if you do not have a press kit, please see me. I have one I can give you. There are prepared remarks in there from Brent, Bozell, and Beth Martin. They are remarks as prepared, not necessarily remarks as delivered, so check your tape. Our first speaker this morning is from Houston, Texas. It's Tanya Robertson, who is one of our Tea Party state coordinators. Tanya.
Thank you and good afternoon. Today, I'm appealing to our lawmakers and citizens that have not yet felt the beginning repercussions of Obamacare. For the past 2 years, our family has witnessed the quality of our health care changing. We are being hoarded in and out of doctor's appointments like cattle. And we're fortunate to spend 5 minutes with the doctor, even if we get to see a doctor. Our family has experienced a 30% premium increase in the last 2 years, along with our deductibles and our co-pays doubling, and with less coverage. I don't know about you, but that's not acceptable. At this point, we are seriously considering dropping our health care insurance simply because we cannot afford it any longer. I'm sure that our family isn't the only one facing this issue. So as a wife, a mother, a grandmother, and as a Texan, I'm asking for the same exemption from Obamacare granted to special interest groups such as the unions and congressional leadership. If the law isn't good enough for our lawmakers, then it isn't good enough for my family or any family in America. My prayer is that Senator Cornyn will stand up with Senator Cruz and Senator Lee to defund Obamacare, and that our congressmen will follow suit. Again, President Obama, senators and congressmen, give American families the same exemption from Obamacare you have given yourselves and special interest groups. Thank you.
Our second speaker this afternoon is from Dallas. It's Camille Johnson, a Tea Party Patriot state coordinator. Ms. Johnson.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. I have a few topics I'll bring up on statistics. And the first one is, guess what? We the people don't want it. So why are we getting it? Our government has to remember we are the people, and they work for us, not vice versa. First, when this came out, our president said that we'd be able to keep our insurance. Then why are the insurance companies already sending notices to their clients by the end of December their policies will be canceled? That's not keeping the policies that you once had. Also, Delta Airlines stated that its health costs will rise $100 million. So where do you think that money's going to come from? It's going to come from their employees. It's going to come from you and I who travel. That's not saving us money, is it? It's going to cost the employees more money. That's why a lot of the employees are cutting back on their personnel by cutting hours so they don't have to fund a health insurance for them. And that's not fair for our people. Also, the UPS stated that it was going to cancel the spouse's health insurance with them. Of course, the spouses might be working, but what happens when they lose their job or they're cut back? Who's going to pay for that insurance? It's all going to come out of our pockets. And just like Tanya said, you can't afford it. The average American cannot afford spending $4,000 to $6,000 a year for one person and up to $20,000 a year for a family of four. Of course, the rich, they have the money. And of course, the people that don't, they're already being funded by the government with all the other stuff. Our young people are really going to be the ones that are targeted. And it's really encouraging our small companies to stay small. Why get bigger? Because it's too much of an expense for them. And we all have to go to our computer and pull up www.don'tfundit.com and sign the petition. There's about 700,000 that have already signed it this past week. So remember, dear government, we are the people. Please listen. Thank you.
Our next speaker this afternoon is from San Antonio, and as it turns out, George and I worked together on the Exempt campaign back in the day. His name is George Rodriquez. He's a Tea Party Patriots state coordinator from San Antonio. George.
Thank you very much. Folks, we're here because it's a very, very important issue that we need to deal with now. Why is it that the president and the vice president and Congress have exempted themselves from a law that they wrote? Isn't it good enough for them? Why is it that they're exempting all of their friends, the unions, etc.? Isn't it good enough for them? If it's not good enough for them, why is it good enough for me? Why is it good enough for our family? Why is it good enough for America? I got news for you. In San Antonio, they keep playing this game where they keep telling Hispanics, oh, you're going to get everything free. But they don't tell you how much it's going to cost on the back end. It's like immediate gratification. I got news for you, folks, and I hope that the media is taking this down, because we are tired of being lied to, okay? I'll use that word, mentiras in Espanol. Liars. They took a law and they wouldn't tell you what it was like until the last moment. And now it's like a moving target. It just keeps changing. It's like trying to fight an amoeba. Remember the movie The Blob? That's what we're trying to fight, the blob. And it's time to put an end to it. It's time for Republicans to get a backbone and stand with us and fight back. We cannot afford to lose this fight, folks. If we lose this one, we're going to lose America. My friends, I hope that all of you will take the message to our Senator Cornyn, to your congressman locally, and tell them, please, draw the line, stand strong, no funding for Obamacare. Thank you very much.
Medicine is the central issue confronting Americans in Obamacare, and here to talk about a few of those ramifications and what we might expect is Dr. Claire Gray from Physicians for Reform. Dr. Gray.
Thank you so much for coming. There is a misconception when this was all going through that the physicians largely supported this effort. And certainly the AMA came out in favor. But what few people know is the American Medical Association represents less than 17% of physicians. And many of those are students, residents, and academics. Amongst the working physicians, those of us, and I still practice full-time, those of us that still see patients, most of us see that this is bad for patients, it's bad for physicians, it's bad for business, and there's a better way. One of the central pieces that President Obama is using in his reform of health care is to expand Medicaid. And most people don't really understand what that means. There's a Government Accountability Office study that found that children with Medicaid have worse access to physicians than children with no insurance at all. There is a head and neck study in 2010 of 1,200 patients. They found that those with head and neck cancer, Medicaid patients were 50% more likely to die than those with traditional insurance. In fact, they were 80% more likely to have metastatic disease. There is another 2010 study with almost 900,000 patients. They found that Medicaid patients after surgery were twice as likely to die as those that had insurance. And actually, the patients that had no insurance at all were 20%, 25% more likely to live. Expanding Medicaid is not good for patients. It's also not good for physicians. There's an interesting study put out by a doctor's insurance group that covered malpractice insurance that surveyed 5,000 physicians last year. They asked them, now that you understand the Affordable Care Act, how does that impact your plan to retire? There's 23% of the physicians that responded said they were very likely to leave medicine in the next 5 years because of the Affordable Care Act. Another 19% said they were likely to leave. This means that 40% of physicians are seriously thinking about leaving medicine because of the Affordable Care Act. Part of that is the electronic medical records. My hospital just lost 2 of its emergency room physicians specifically because of the mandate that we switch medical record system. My hospital spent $15 million converting the system. Now we have worse patient care, very frustrated nurses. It's hard to spend time with our patients, and we're seeing more adverse outcomes. And we're having to lay people off because of the mandate to expand our medical record system. It's also bad for business. I was just down in Dallas about a month ago, met with a business owner. He owns a chain of small restaurants. He's moving his front-time wait staff from full-time to less than 30 hours a week to avoid mandates. There's employer after employer after employer that's shifting America to a part-time employment. And in fact, there's a better way to solve this problem. The Affordable Care Act is going to drive America into bankruptcy at the national level, at the state level, while devastating patient care. I was asked to write a health care plan for the Herman Cain team, and I wrote something called a patient-centered fiscally responsible plan for health care reform. It's called Cutting the Gordian Knot. There are better solutions, starting with Medicaid, Medicare, and then looking stepwise at solutions that this can be rebuilt. You hear time and time again that there are no other ideas. In fact, there are other ideas, and I lived this out about 3 or 4 years ago. So there is a better way, but first of all, we need to stop the Affordable Care Act where it's at now, and this can be done by not funding the bill as we continue to move forward. Thank you so much for your time and for coming.
Wait just a moment for the camera set. One of the most eloquent and forceful speakers and advocates for liberty in general and freedom from Obamacare specifically, the Tea Party Patriots co-founder, is Jenny Beth Martin.
If Obamacare is not ready for big business, big labor, or big government, it's not ready for the American people. It's time for the President, Congress, and Senator Cornyn to do the fair thing and exempt America from Obamacare. The only way to do this is to stop spending our hard-earned tax money on Obamacare, which can be done while still funding the rest of the entire federal government for 2014. The President acknowledged that Obamacare is not ready. That's why the White House announced a delay in implementing the Obamacare mandate for big business. That comes on the heels of many of the waivers that have been already granted to major labor unions, because Obamacare is not ready for them either. after a closed-door meeting with the President, Senate Democrats, and Senator John McCain, the Office of Personnel Management decided to exempt Congress and their staff from the Obamacare exchanges. The American people have not been offered any such delay or waiver or exemption. We're stuck with an individual mandate for bureaucratic law that the White House admits is simply not ready, while our government picks and chooses which parts of Obamacare to ignore and which groups get exemptions. The heads of the 3 biggest labor unions told the president that Obamacare is going to shatter their employees' health care and bring an end to the 40-hour work week. Why? Because Obamacare is just not ready. The authors of Obamacare have said so themselves. If Obamacare is not ready for big business, big labor, or big government, it's not ready for the American people, and it's time to exempt America from this broken law. Senator Cornyn prides himself on being a supposed leading voice in the opposition to the president's signature law. Yet he withdrew his name from Senator Ted Cruz and Mike Lee's letter committing to funding the government without spending money on Obamacare. How is that leadership? Senator Cornyn acknowledges that the selective enforcement of Obamacare jeopardizes the rule of law in America. In a recent op-ed in just the last week, he said, "The principle at stake here is much larger than Obamacare. It's about the constitutional powers between the executive and legislative branches of government. We agree the rule of law is at stake, and those who vote to fund this law are jeopardizing the rule of law in our country. Those who vote to pay for Obamacare with our hard-earned tax dollars are voting to exempt themselves from a law that they insist we must pay for and we must obey." Senator Cornyn has the opportunity to truly establish his leadership in this fight right now. Senator Cornyn has a choice to make. Stand up with the American people and do what is right for America by funding the entire federal government and not spending our tax money on Obamacare. Or stand with the special interest in D.C., big business, big labor, and big government, while sticking this disastrous law on the American people. With the problems, delays, and exemptions in this law, this choice should be simple. Stand with the American people and exempt America from Obamacare.
Yes. Yes.
Our final speaker this afternoon is the chairman of ForAmerica, the largest online grassroots organization in the country, Mr. Brent Bozell.
This is Texas heat. I need Obamacare.
You haven't seen anything yet.
Obamacare is heading for a train wreck. That's what Montana Senator Max Baucus, the Senate's leading sponsor and architect of this monstrosity of a bill, has called it. But where is Senator John Cornyn on this train wreck? It seems like he wants to see it happen. He is refusing to stop it while telling Texans he's doing everything he possibly can. Some of the president's closest allies, like Teamsters Union President James Hoffa, were early endorsers of this government takeover. Now they are firmly opposing it. Hoffa now says that Obamacare will, quote, destroy the foundation of the 40-hour work week that is the backbone of the American middle class, and it will, quote, hurt millions of Americans. John Cornyn could stop this disaster. Why won't he? Polls have consistently shown a majority of Americans do not want this disastrous law and would like to have it repealed. Yet all Democrats and some Republicans think the people of Texas and hardworking Americans all across our nation should have to pay for this train wreck. Because he won't defund it, John Cornyn is saying to working families in Texas and all of Americans, you pay for Obamacare. The only way to stop this train wreck is for John Cornyn and other Republicans in the Congress to stand up and say, enough. We're not going to force the American people to pay for this train wreck. Defund this monstrosity, Senator Cornyn. The wheels are already coming off Obamacare. We've heard Delta Airlines has said it's going to cost them $100 million in 1 year alone to pay for health care. UPS is telling thousands of employees it will no longer offer health care to their wives. On and on the examples come. So much for President Obama's promise that if you like your health insurance plan, you can keep it. But it turns out that not everyone is going to have to experience the pain of Obamacare. Obama and his Democratic allies keep giving out one exception after another to their cronies. The Obama administration has unilaterally, and in my view illegally, exempted many big businesses from having to comply with the law unions are being asked to comply with. And now, Senator John Cornyn and his allies in the Congress have exempted themselves from the very law they're saying Texas has to pay for. No wonder John Cornyn right now doesn't want to fight to defund Obamacare. He's exempted himself from it. Everyone's getting exemptions from this disastrous law except the American people. But that seems to be typical American politics. Big business doesn't have to live with this law that imposes ruin on our nation's healthcare system. John Cornyn and the rest of Congress don't have to live with this law, but the hardworking people of Texas not only have to live with this law, they have to pay for this law. There's very little time to stop the Obama train wreck. Massive amounts of taxes, regulations, and subsidies are about to kick in. Once these treacherous things are in place, there will be little, if any, chance to back what is the largest, or to stop, what is the largest entitlement program in American history. Unfortunately, many Republicans, including Senator John Cornyn, come home time after time and write you letters and send you emails and do television appearances and promise over and over that they're doing everything in their power to stop Obamacare. Senator Cornyn, where are you when we need you to defund Obamacare? We're here today to call on Senator Cornyn to keep his promise to the rest of the nation and to the voters of Texas. He can keep that promise by doing everything he can to stop Obamacare by pledging today, he will fight to defund this monstrosity. John Cornyn must join Senator Mike Lee, Senator Ted Cruz, and Senator Marco Rubio and speak up for the American people by passing a one-year budget that funds the government but not Obamacare. Senator Cornyn, just say no to funding Obamacare. Senator Cornyn, just say no to President Obama and his cronies in Washington. Senator Cornyn, we need you to keep your promise to the American people. Senator Cornyn, we need you to lead the fight to defund Obamacare before it's too late. Senator Cornyn, here's our message. If you fund it, you own it. Thank you.
We do have a little bit of time for any of our friends in the media. If you'd like to ask any specific questions of any of our speakers this afternoon, we also can arrange some one-on-ones in the shade if you would want to take that approach. So with that said, any questions from the press that we can help with? Very good. Thank you very much.